This commenter asks me, do you remember the black and white generic foods? What about powdered milk? Absolutely. Black and white generic foods were a staple in our house. For those of you who either are not from my generation, you're from a younger generation, or you didn't grow up in poverty, you might not have remembered in the 70s. I think they lasted into the 80s. I can't remember. There was a line of, I almost said brand, but there was a line of products called No Name. And it was the generic version. So you know how you walk into Walmart and you can get Sam's is Kirkland, or was that Costco's? I can't remember. Members Mark is Sam's Club. Kirkland's is Costco's. Whatever Walmart is, Signature Series, whatever, the generic version of it. Well, when I was a child and you were poor, all of your generic products came in a plain white label with black block lettering and a black and I think greenish stripe down the side of it. This is what they looked like. It was literally plain white packaging, and there was no brand name. So you see here it just says laundry detergent or flour or cornflakes. It's not Kellogg's cornflakes. It's not such and such paper towels. It's just paper towels. And applesauce, meat ravioli, corn. Here it is in color. So it was a plain white packaging, black block lettering, and then that green and black stripe that went around it. That was it. This was my pantry when I was a kid. We had very few things that were name brand, right? I remember there being a few things that my parents would splurge on. For example, we had the Mr. Bubbles. It came in a pink box, looked like a cereal box, and there were flakes of soap that you put in the bathtub to create bubbles. We bought that name brand. I remember that. A Miracle Whip, I remember being a name brand that we bought, but almost everything else we had in the house was in this generic packaging, along with obviously government cheese. This was my childhood right here. All of this right here, and it's, from my understanding, it's what you ate when you were poor, and you were getting this shit with food stamps, which is how I grew up. I remember all of this vividly, and I remember my mother paying for groceries with the physical food stamps back in the day. You got a book of stamps that was worth X amount of money per this stamp, X amount. This stamp was worth $1. This stamp was worth 5 or 10, whatever it was. And you ripped out the stamps when you were at the grocery store, and that's how you paid for your groceries. And I remember my mother being embarrassed every time she paid for her groceries with food stamps. I remember her talking to her sister, my aunt, about how much she hated it and how embarrassing it was. To me, it's not embarrassing if you put food on your table, but I remember all of that stuff. And as far as powdered milk, we didn't have powdered milk. I wasn't allowed to have milk when I was a young child because I was allergic, so I had a lot of half and half, which was gross. But our mashed potatoes were always instant, dehydrated, flaked mashed potatoes that she rehydrated in a pot on the stove. And they were in that white box with the black and white No Name. Oh, God. Those mashed potatoes were so fucking bad.